6:34, I think. So this is a meeting of the MBTA zoning task force. It is August 22nd, 6:35. We call a roll call, so we have Sandy.
Here.
And Green.
Here.
And Sarah.
Here.
And Richard.
Here.
And Ann.
Elsewhere but present.
Any others who are elsewhere but present?
I talked to Gar and he said he probably wouldn't make it.
Okay. Yeah, I
He's
know.
in an even better part of Maine.
A deserted island somewhere. I think it's
Yeah.
totally- Okay, so I just got an email from Gail saying that she is not gonna be here to take the minutes, but I guess she can watch the recording.
Yes.
But we should take notes anyway, just so it's a good thing to do. Okay, the first item on the agenda is an update on MBTA zoning proposal, the state review, and the revised language.
So, we got acknowledgement from the state a couple weeks ago that they have reviewed our application for completeness and determined that it is complete. However,
That was it.
that was it. And as opposed, and they didn't say anything else, so it doesn't, you don't know whether it's the first time they picked it up, they review it as complete and they put it in the pile with all the other complete ones. Or if now that they picked it up and it's complete, they actually start the review, which means maybe we get a decision about it fairly soon. You know, like early first week of September. So we don't really know the answer
I
to
would
that,
guess it will be end of
But-
September, the 90 days.
but at least they have looked at,
Yeah.
picked it up. So,
A bit of quasi good news.
yes.
Okay. So should we go to the revised language that you and Emily have?
Mhm.
put
So this,
together?
everyone, I made some extra copies if people didn't print one out, red line version.
Well, what you have,
I'm all
I'm all
set.
set.
I'm all set, Mark. But it would be helpful to have you take us through the changes.
Yes, oh, yes. And the other thing I did is I also printed out, just so, because a lot of the changes we made are because of the site plan review performance standards, which are 10 pages long. And so we found a lot of things that are in here. So any development, any proposal for a multifamily has to go through site plan review. So many of the things are redundant to what's already being required. So if anyone wants
Yes.
copies of
Yes.
that to refer to, I have hopefully enough.
Penny and I can share in the limit.
Okay.
I memorized some.
Chris wrote them, so.
Good for you. Dream? What did you do about it?
I mean, I did notice a couple of things, Mark, that we had discussed at a prior meeting that didn't get into this version.
Okay,
Okay.
Yeah, I have a few things too, so we should just go through.
mhm. So the first several pages, you'll notice there's a few little formatting changes, a couple words here and there. We corrected on the third page, the sub-district name, or Pine Street.
So can we discuss the district names because we have different versions of them? And I think we need to settle on final.
Okay. I think the maps and the what's here is what match up now.
Uh-huh.
So these are the names that we have throughout this as well as throughout the maps that we submitted.
Could you give me just a little more where you are?
Line 32.
It's on page 3.
have line numbers.
Line 31, 32.
Oh, just a heading.
9.4.2, the last section.
Okay, district. Okay,
Different
got it.
names. So one of them I think is wrong, is the Beach Street sub-district, which I think should be called the Summer Street sub-district.
Well, the reason why we
No,
didn't
that was
use
always-
Summer Street is,
Oh, some-
we didn't use Summer Street is because Allen to Lincoln is also along Summer. So to eliminate any confusion, we use Beach Street. Because you do have two properties right on Beach Street, which is the gas station and the little building right next to it. So that's why we called it the Beach Street.
That's confusing to people though.
It's
How
really,
about,
it's really beach to summer.
It's beach in summer, but it's just a small,
how about
So-
Central Summer?
No central on,
It doesn't go to,
there's no central street.
No, I mean,
That's why it
it's
was,
not a union either.
right.
or Lower Summer.
Lower Summer might be a better name, but
Ah, yeah, Lower Summer Street.
Yeah,
See,
So is this language in, I'm a little confused as to what the state has.
state has this without any of the red line change.
Okay,
So we had said back in June when we submitted this, that Emily and I would sit down and try and eliminate the redundancies because we didn't really have a ton of time to.
Yep.
So,
I mean, it's not the end of the world one way or the other. Anyone feel strongly that it should be Lower Summer or Beach?
well, what, it goes,
For the sub-district.
it goes to Spyrock Hill Road, right? So it's really Beach Street to Spyrock.
well, the other districts do not include all the streets that are
Right.
part of the district. I mean,
Right.
it's not inconsistent. If we did that, we'd have Pine to Morse and. all
I-
that.
I think we're talking about the name of the sub-district. It says Beach Street Sub-District. And I think the question is, should that say Lower Summer Sub-District?
Well, part of it is Beach Street.
Right.
Part of it is Beach.
And my point is that when you look at the other names, they are also not inclusive of all the streets.
Right.
within
Yeah,
the-
so it's fine to say Beach Street,
Okay.
Okay.
I think, and we, that's how we, it's also how we've been talking about it all along too. So there's a certain consistency with, so people don't get confused about, oh, they changed it.
They'll be confused anyway.
Refer them to the map.
There you go.
They'll say, I thought we were excluding Beach Street.
Okay. Fine, everything is fine.
So the names are
Okay.
fine, we just have to get this.
You just need to make it consistent.
so, the next page 3 is just, another formatting change. Page 4,
So I have two changes on page 4.
Okay.
Line 111. The current height for 1.5-story accessory structure is 25 feet, and I thought we were going to keep it consistent,
okay, accessory structure shall not exceed.
25 feet.
25.
Yeah.
Okay,
And then the other is on line 114, 115. I believe we had agreed to exclude the last clause that says, and do not constitute more than 25% of the ground floor area of the building. That's the spires. We don't have that in our current bylaw, and I think 25% is overly generous.
mm-hmm,
So beginning on the and, you
Okay.
get rid of the and,
Yeah,
Sarah.
and do not constitute more than 25% of,
living purposes, period.
yeah.
Is everybody okay with these dimensional standards the way we wrote them?
Well, they gave me pause. I did look at them. But my concern is if we started tweaking them, we were gonna adversely impact the results of the compliance model.
Yeah,
Yeah.
You know, so because it's not that simple, but
and going back a little bit, in the LCD, for the Beaver Dam District, we're not gonna allow any mixed use, just either is gonna be multifamily
Mhm.
or commercial.
Yeah, or the underlying district.
why did we
Mhm.
decide that?
I didn't know that we decided it.
Well, that's what it says.
Oh,
We are allowing mixed use,
if you're allowing accessory uses,
we're allowing mixed uses in the when the overlay district's on the general district.
and we've got accessory uses, which are like the swimming pools and
Yeah, we
the
have those.
amenities,
Yes, that's right.
yeah. And what the reason was, we didn't want to compete with downtown.
Well, I think the underlying, yeah, well, usually the underlying district is not the general district businesses, it's the industrial. So it's a different kind of
Mm.
uses that are allowed, and may not always be necessarily compatible.
And I could see you'd want something like a 7-Eleven or something like that up there, if you've got 100 residents.
Well, there's
It's not gonna be that dense, so.
Or if it was artist studio space, for example, that'd be, studios would be a commercial use.
A private studio?
A private studio,
Or an office,
If that's,
or an attorney's office or something.
Somebody who works from home?
no, it includes customary home occupations.
It does.
well, maybe that would take care of an artist.
But when
Yeah.
we go to mixed use on that area, does not that change the density?
Well, wait, what does the LCD, does the underlying zoning allow commercial uses?
Yes.
Yes,
It does. Well,
But-
that was the reason we said it was I mean,
but it's different
It's different.
than the general district. So,
But
so it allows business uses for both, and a doctor's office is not allowed, believe it or not, in the LCD.
But it includes customary home occupation, which would cover an artist studio, would cover
or a software developer.
somebody who lives there, what they do.
Also, general retail uses are not permitted in the LCD.
Oh, that's interesting, except for marijuana shops.
Well,
You can't sell anything else but marijuana.
Right.
Yeah.
So, that's one of the differences. Personal and general service establishment. Perhaps that might be a hair salon, would not be permitted in the LCD, but is permitted in the general district.
Okay,
So,
maybe we're all right.
My recollection is that if we were to put multi-use into our MBTA zoning, we completely changed the density that's achieved.
And the difference between making something allowed and having it be
Required.
required. So we're not
That's the
talking about
difference.
multi-use required, which is what's allowed,
No, I understand
and that
that,
doesn't impact anything.
but,
It's just like you can have senior housing allowed,
Yeah.
but it's not.
it wouldn't necessarily impact the density depending upon what you want to do, provided you can make it all fit within the lot coverage and the height requirements.
so it's probably just my faulty memory. I'm trying to remember back to the original discussions we had. If you'll recall, they initially specifically disallowed multi-use.
But it's required, yes.
Requiring,
That's the.
No, they originally specifically disallowed it, period.
Right. And then
Right,
they,
and then they
And then
amended
they added
things.
in
That's
something,
correct.
which allowed it, but there was some, it wasn't that simple as you just allow it and everything else is the same.
we're not defining that as part of our
Zoning.
multiple, it's not in our definition, it's just an allowed use.
So you're
So it
saying it
doesn't count.
doesn't count because it's not part of the zone of the MBT overlay.
Correct.
It's just,
That's my
If
understanding.
it's not part of the
it
MBTA
is,
overlay,
it's an allowed use in the MBTA overlay,
If it's allowed in the underlying.
but
General business.
it's not requiring multi-use like on the first floor.
right, I understand.
We have lots of things, like you're allowed to have senior housing, housing for seniors, which isn't allowed in the MBTA overlay, but we can allow it as a
Sure,
permitted use.
no, all right, so as long as it's not in the MBTA. overlay
Definition, yeah,
Got it.
yeah.
Got it, thank you.
Okay, let's move along. I have something on 101. line 101.
We already went past that.
Building
Come to health.
gaps, okay.
It says that, we're only allowing
3
3
units.
units per building in those districts. And what I'm wondering is, does that, if somebody was allowed to have 4 units, well, if they had a big enough lot, they could have 4 units.
They'd have to build a separate building.
Yes, it would have to do a separate,
So there'd be a separate building with 1 unit in it,
or 2 and 2.
or 2 and 2?
I think the reason was we didn't want big structures.
It was trying to scale down the massing of the building to something more that matches most of what the town is, even with multi.
And actually, there are some lots in the Allen to Lincoln that are, I think, 5 and 8.
Yeah, there are.
Yeah.
So that would, for example, 76 Summer would be ineligible.
Which could be problematic.
Well, it's an existing building,
So, well, maybe we should say existing buildings are
except,
exempt.
yeah,
Yeah,
Well, they are.
no, I think you need
No,
to
I
write
think
it
we
in this
need to-
building cap, building unit cap thing that. You could say no more than 3 units may be constructed within a single building,
So
unless you're staying.
Except-
I'll just add a sentence saying existing buildings are
Exempted.
exempt from this
3,
3-unit cap requirement.
yep,
I'm confused and I need some help. This is the overlay district language we're looking at, isn't it?
Yes,
This is the overlay district.
Yeah,
So what does this have to do with what's already there?
because if 76 Summer Street is in the overlay district, it's 9,000 square feet.
Yes, but the overlay district
And-
is something that you can do in addition to the other overlay underlying zoning.
No, they can't do
They can't
more than
do-
3 in the underlying zoning. And we want to be able to take a big building like that and use the density in the model would,
I see what you're getting at. 76 Summer is which,
which building?
it's the old gas station with a round sign on it.
it's next to the school,
Next to the
Memorial School. On the left side is
That's
Summer.
the gas station.
It used to be.
It's used as a commercial.
I understand.
Uh,
Right, so if that building were to be converted under the language of the overlay district, they would have to cut out a slice from the middle of the building in order to conform.
Yes,
Which doesn't make
Bless you.
sense.
Or knock it down and start from scratch.
Right, which is,
Well,
kind
Which
of-
wouldn't be a bad thing.
well. But with the exemption, the building could stand, and they could
more
have
than
4
3
units, right,
Yeah.
which is fine.
They have up to 8 or 10 units.
They can do all sorts of things, though. I mean, I was only half joking about the slice. You could cut a slice, make a veranda and conform.
Could, but
I
that's,
would be a little bit worried about turning the whole principle of restricting massing on the existence of one building that we're trying to.
well,
preserve.
so be all the buildings.
There's lots of buildings.
There's lots of buildings kind of scattered about.
It might have like 4,000 square feet and be able to have 4 units in an existing structure.
Maybe not want to.
Lots of buildings?
Well, maybe
2?
half a dozen, maybe.
I don't know, Richard, let's not argue over that.
Well, I understand, but it is a question of, it is germane because If we just want to say existing buildings, is that what you're getting at? Just say existing,
Yeah.
Yes,
fine, I'm sorry, go
Yeah.
ahead.
okay.
So we don't get new big ones built.
We got something on line 128. Actually, there's a duplication of off-street parking requirements, both here and in the standards section. And what I wonder is whether it allows the planning board to reduce parking by up to no more than 20%. But if there were senior housing proposed, you'd have a sea of empty parking spaces. So I wonder if we should allow for
More flexibility.
more flexibility for senior housing, not for anything else.
You think we could get away with building in language that would be specific to senior housing?
Yeah, I think so.
If it's just applies to parking.
I'd be a little worried about that.
Remember, people can build senior housing by choice. We can't require. it.
Yeah, we're not requiring it. If somebody wanted to do senior.
You're essentially providing an incentive.
Yeah, well, yes, yeah, I guess we are.
Hmm.
But it's still up to the planning board to grant the waiver.
Yeah.
As part of the site plan review.
I would be concerned if it were a general waiver.
Where is
I
the
think that's a
section?
good suggestion.
Section
I think it's a suggestion.
946, but it doesn't,
That's not, that doesn't cover the waiver from the,
No,
no.
that's
So where's the waiver language?
That's
Chris?
at the back of the standards.
General develop, the 9.4.8, general development standards,
Choose line 225.
parking. There it is. Section,
225, line
Yeah.
225.
got it, thank you.
Okay.
So, well, one of the things I wonder is whether that's redundant to 9.4.6 anyway.
What's your experience in the number of spaces in senior housing?
A third of the space per unit. Sometimes a half.
I'm just looking at when the planning board,
So if you had 3 units, it could be as low as 1 space per unit, is that what you're saying?
Yes. Really?
One space per unit or one space for 3?
3,
For seniors, one for two, one for 3.
How many spaces are there at Newport Park?
Yeah.
You know, and it might be one for one or two. Good question.
Maybe we ought to go count cars and count spaces one night.
Well, I think that you do have visitors and Newport Park they're not a lot of empty spaces.
It seems really
I know
low.
when we went to do a field visit there, it was not easy to find legal parking. We had to park along the driveway.
Say 1 for 2 seems awfully low for you.
I think that's why they don't really want people parking there to go walking the trail.
right?
Yeah,
yeah, there's lots of.
And under the senior, we say 1 unit, 1 car per unit. Somewhere in here.
We don't say anything about.
Yes, we
senior.
do.
We do about.
Yes.
seniors?
Yes. I read it.
You just didn't write down the line number?
Well, no, because I agreed with it.
No.
Maybe one possible solution is to increase the percentage that the planning board can reduce the parking requirement.
No, that's sort of a blanket waiver, but maybe we could say it could be further waivers could be granted for senior housing, something like that, just vague.
And also, how you define senior housing?
We'll have to, that's a good question.
Yeah, winds up in the definitions.
Well, I
This
mean,
may be a worry.
somebody who's 65 years old is eligible and, you know, drives a Corvette and thinks he's 12.
You know some of those?
And then
people?
then has the cars
Toss
drive
into that.
around the grandchildren.
Right, right. Tell about the old days.
I would,
Where's your?
I would just take out the percentage.
Which paragraph are we on again?
It is, 225, which is,
Okay, 225.
Yeah, the other thing
Well,
to
thinking-
remember is Newport Park is income, I believe, isn't it income restricted?
yes, it is.
30%.
So
Very low income.
the ability for people who
Own a
aren't
car.
income restricted, who are in a senior housing complex that's built for just market rate seniors, those people might have two cars, a fun car and a non-fun car, still might own a pickup truck. and-
Yeah.
Well, I guess, so I think that's why it should be up to the planning board to decide whether this is a
Well-
affordable senior complex where you're not gonna have a lot of parking versus a market.
Hmm.
Well, so as the let me be sure I understand, as the language stands now. All other CHA districts. There's 1.5 spaces per residential unit, and it could get as low as 1.2. If you can reduce it by up to 20%.
I'm sorry, I have a problem with this whole paragraph.
Okay.
Because it says the requirements of section 6.1 off-street parking shall apply. That's in the current bylaw, correct?
Yes.
Yes,
Mhm.
Okay, but yet, in the off-street parking in 9.4.6, we have 2 spaces on Beaver Dam Road per unit, and that's not in 6.1.
That's,
So I think this whole that B should be stricken.
well, they, or should say the parking requirements of 9.4.6.
Right.
Why
I think you should
why
say
don't you
requirements
just-
of section 6.1 off-street parking shall not apply. Because it's in 9.4.6.
Or if you want to get the 20% reduction and just put it up in 9.4.
Well, there's that too, yeah.
But,
I mean, that would be tidier.
yeah, but this is wrong. This has to come out. Because we're not using section 6.1.
But the 20%
1.5.
idea can get
Yeah,
included someplace else.
Because 6.1 is 1.5 per unit. Round it up.
yeah,
So if it were to come out, Sarah, what then applies?
How do you get?
9.4.
Yeah, I think you would say the requirements of section 6.1 off-street parking do not apply.
Mhm.
except.
Section 9.4.6.
Thing is, the 6.1 has dimensional requirements, it has planting requirements, setbacks.
You should
It
say
has
the
all these other.
Well, then say,
standards about the parking standard.
you can say 6.1 off-street parking shall apply with the exception of the number of spaces per dwelling unit.
Could you repeat that, Sarah?
The requirements of section 6.1 off-street parking shall apply with the exception of the number of spaces per dwelling unit.
Isn't the number of spaces per dwelling unit the whole point?
Well,
No.
they're all spelled out in 9.
That's in 9.4.6 and 6.1 has different requirements per dwelling unit. That's the current bylaw
Right, so
So,
why do we need it at all?
because of the standards, the size of the lots.
So the only real difference is Beaver Dam, we required 2 spaces per unit instead of 1.5.
No, I understand why we need 9.4.6. I got that.
Yeah.
I don't understand why we need,
We need 6.1 to say what size the parking spaces need to be.
And whether there's screening and things.
But should all that be under 9.4.6 anyway, including reference to the dimensional standards?
Unless you just go back to eliminate 2 spaces, although I advocated
No.
for it. But
Under 9.4.6, can't you just put in
Everything about parking.
all other, all street parking,
I can say,
restrictions are subject to section 6.1.
I can say with the exception of table 6.1. Because then table
Okay,
9.4.6.1, 2 pages earlier, has the requirements for the overlay.
Yeah, that's fine. It's just,
with the exception of table 6.1 shall apply.
and maybe Sandy, that 20% is enough if you reduce.
I think you'll have a political problem if you've got an opportunity to reduce the number of parking spaces significantly.
Yeah,
I don't like it because I don't like the uncertainty of it. Like, I mean, you know, you can always make the argument that things should be left to the planning board. We could have no zoning at all. Everything could be left.
People aren't gonna be very happy about that.
No,
Well, maybe including the state, because it is discretionary.
we
Yep.
set on this one.
Leave the 20%.
No, we're taking that out.
Take it out.
Oh, I thought we were keeping it in.
No, taking it out. Not giving the planning board discretion.
I thought, okay,
Why would you want to give them discretion?
What?
Why would you not want to give them that amount of discretion?
Because it's,
I mean, if the goal is to reduce on a case by case basis,
that's not the way we do parking in Manchester. And
well, we're just talking about senior housing.
no, we're talking about anything in the multi-use district.
So Sarah, how about 20% reduction for senior housing at the discretion of the planning board?
that's okay with me.
I don't have a problem.
I think that's fine, because it's quite narrowly defined, so hopefully that's,
It's only a small reduction.
Yeah, so if it applies to only senior housing, I'm okay.
And senior housing
You
is
need to have
well defined.
5 spaces.
Is senior housing defined? Yes.
I don't know. It's,
Okay,
Good.
so
Sure.
can we take section 9.4.8 to be completely out and move all of its content to 9.4.6?
no,
no.
you mean,
So
no,
that there's,
no.
so
It's-
there's only one place where you talk about parking?
Oh, you're just taking out 2B.
You're just saying about 2B,
2B.
right?
No,
Yeah.
I think you can't because of the way this is structured. The way this is structured is it's saying it's, all of these items are referring to the existing bylaw. And so it
Okay.
doesn't make sense to move one piece out and leave the others in.
Okay. Can we move?
So wait
No,
a
we
minute.
can't move the special stuff into here because this is just the stuff that's not. So we have to have it in 2 places.
It's gonna be in 2 places, I guess. As long as they're consistent, that's okay.
They
Okay.
won't be after 10 minutes.
But just to be sure I understand, so what we're gonna do is we're gonna leave 2B there, saying the requirements of 6.1, except for the table and
Except for
6.1,
table 6.1.
right,
Shall
apply
apply with
And-
the exception.
with the
the
planning
planning
board,
board.
20% for senior housing.
And I think I've been told this before, but can you remind me what the source of our definition for senior housing is?
Senior housing is, it's age restricted to 55 and older.
And that is defined.
It is not, and it needed to be added.
It's actually in the bylaw.
No, it's not being added.
It's not, because it's in the current
It's in the
bylaw.
bylaw.
Okay, thank you.
So actually, you know, if you the 3rd red line down,
Where are
Where
you?
you,
at that section 4.9.4.8
Okay,
B.
yeah,
Third line down, we did kind of change that. So with the following exception, that residential parking requirements of table 6.1 are superseded by section 9.6. So
okay,
we had already made
Okay.
that editing kind of
Okay.
change.
okay.
Didn't,
But so you could just leave it.
yeah, so
Yeah.
we already made that change differently. But I will add that the planning board may reduce parking requirements by no more than 20% for senior housing.
Okay.
I'll add
And for
that.
senior housing only.
Yeah.
Well, where are we?
I don't know, I think we kind of left off in the 9.4.6.
Okay, so I want to go on to 9.4.7.
Yep.
And the design review committee. So the one thing I think might be a problem is if one of the members of the design review committee is an architect designing a project within a child. And I think there should be something to say that
That would be a conflict of interest.
exactly.
I don't think you don't need that in the bylaw.
Or could the planning board appoint somebody in their stead in that case?
It's covered by the
I
state
can see why
regulation.
you have one member of the planning board in this design review committee myself.
That was a request from the planning board. It's my
If they have
recollection.
no qualified member,
I never liked the idea, but that was from the planning board.
Well, it's kind of like here, you have a member of the board.
yeah, but design review is,
It's coming back to the
niche.
planning board.
Yeah,
yeah, the planning board's gonna get to, it's almost a conflict for somebody to be on the planning board to serve on the design review committee as making a recommendation to the planning board. That planning board member should recuse themselves from the final decision.
Isn't the conflict of interest here clearly covered by the state conflict of interest laws? We all have.
Yes,
Not sure it would be because it's
Yeah, this is
advisory
not-
to the planning board. The planning
yeah,
board.
that's all it
but
is.
if
So
you,
it's
if you,
just advisory.
Yeah,
Yes, Ann.
I just, if you take this committee as an example, we would all disqualify, or not, everyone but the general
No,
members would
No.
disqualify themselves, and Sarah.
no, because
Because-
it's not coming before the ZBA. or the
Okay,
planning-
but it is coming before the planning board, it is coming before the select board.
Yeah,
yeah.
So that is perfectly okay. There's no reason why somebody can't advocate for a change that has been prepared by a task force or some other board, or the design review board.
Right. Otherwise, it'd be down to Jenny and me, which would sort of.
Well, you do fine.
Give us a
Get a
headache.
lot done.
So what are we gonna do about this potential conflict of interest?
So we could say that if a member is disqualified, we can add a line saying if a member is disqualified due to a conflict of interest, the planning board may appoint a replacement for that particular application.
That sounds
Yeah.
good.
That's fine.
And then my final one is about site lighting. 1305. Why we're adding all this when it's already in the performance standards.
I'm sorry, where you're,
Here it's section 9.4.9. Number 4.
site, ICE,
E.
305,
Yeah,
My number?
305.
305.
Right, so we're going past all the rest.
Well, then people something else. And I just wonder why this is happening.
Well, I think it's important.
Well, it's already in the performance standards. All these.
But that's discretionary.
So.
I'm on,
think-
on a campaign of getting rid of all of these bright lights that reflect off the harbor.
Well, I agree. You never know. I'm sure you would, right?
DPW did it for the sewer treatment plant.
Well, put it
You're
shades, we
conservative.
need shades. Oh, don't leave that as duplication. That's my only concern.
Yeah, I think what we did is we had moved that sentence as well as from several pages down from 470 to 305 because we felt it should apply both to all projects, not just the Beaver Dam project.
There you go.
But we eliminated,
Oh,
looks like we eliminated building lighting because that was clearly performance standards. But site lighting is a 2. But I think maybe what there wasn't was the, I believe it's the height and lighting pedestrian paths might have been a little bit different.
I mean, under
And
the
I
site
don't know.
plan review, it does say lighting shall comply with international dark sky standards.
But the height here of 12 to 17, that's they're pretty specific. That's not covered.
Why do you need that?
Why? Well, it changes the character of the space for sure, having high lights.
so what is the general development?
So
standard?
the general development, maybe that was supposed to be all eliminated, but we have under height of fixtures, we have wall-mounted fixtures attached to a building for area lighting shall be mounted no higher than 12 feet above grade.
Right.
And then for pole-mounted exterior light fixtures shall be mounted no higher than 14 feet above grade for pedestrian walkway lighting and 20 feet above grade for parking lighting. So it's a little different, but you're only talking 2 feet. So, and 3 feet for parking lots. It seems a little redundant. I think we might have wanted to take that completely
Is
out.
it green?
Take out the
Yes,
height of, just the height.
No, we're taking out E site lighting.
Because it's already covered,
It's in the,
general standard.
General
General,
standards.
There's
yeah.
a whole page.
6.3.4 of the general standards has outdoor
I
lighting.
remember it well.
Okay, includes the international dark sky, blah, blah, blah.
It's
It's
got
all in there.
a page and a half
Okay,
of rules.
Yeah, I'd say take it out.
Okay.
Okay.
Anyone else have any changes they'd like to make?
No.
Okay. But I consider yourselves done with this. Mark, will you make those changes and
Make those changes, except the rest of the red line changes and then what we'll do is at some point in September we'll wait for a decision from the state and put together a final set of edits.
okay,
These plus whatever, so we'll set. Maybe what we'll do is we'll send this around to both boards,
Yeah.
board, with the final clean version,
Yeah.
so everyone can see. Because everyone did receive a copy of this red line version, so,
okay.
we'll send that around so that when,
Can we put it up on the website,
sure.
under the MBTA zoning, so that the public can
See what
see?
they
Yeah,
was discussed.
Do you suppose that when they're reviewing the final version of our language, that they have any memory of the review that they made of the previous version? Do we supply them with what we changed, or do they start from scratch and re-examine the new?
Oh,
language
after
altogether?
town meeting, if it's approved at town
Yes.
meeting, I believe they'd probably go through it all again.
Because they don't trust us.
Yes.
Well, no, I understand that they would go through it all again.
I'm sure they would reference their pre-approval one.
You'd
They'd
think,
have to.
yeah.
Or
that's
else
my-
what's the sense of doing pre-approval?
Right.
Exactly.
And these changes we're talking about are cosmetic.
They seem to me, I can't see
Yeah.
anything there that would make,
Why wouldn't you just send them a red line copy?
that's what I'm asking.
That's not part of the process.
Yeah, I can't. Yeah, so, yeah, halfway
We have to
through
send-
the review.
So they, oh, it's not-
It's too efficient.
That's right.
We have to send them. So we can't.
What are these people
tell
thinking?
me a red line copy.
No, I know.
Okay,
All right, let's move on to the status of the EFA affordability for affordability.
Yes.
and the
I have-
capacity for the-
I have not received any feedback or comments from them on the affordability study or the propensity to change study, which has been funded by, Mass Housing Partnership has given us a grant to fund the propensity for change. So I haven't heard anything from RKG on either study.
So how do we get them?
Can we get a,
I will call
Deadline?
them tomorrow.
be nice
Oh,
to have a
we're-
deadline.
No, we're not happy.
Yes, I will. So that's, what was the name of the first one?
The economic feasibility analysis
big customers.
For affordability.
for affordability.
Yeah,
For
EFA
the 20 For
affordability.
the 20%.
20%.
Yeah. Because this will be a lot more palatable with.
And
Oh, my gosh.
Can you
Yes.
tell us about RKG with the fiscal impact study?
Or the propensity for development.
No.
The fiscal
The
is,
fiscal analysis.
what about the,
So we asked RKG to do that also.
no,
No, I thought we asked the.
no, we asked the finance committee.
No, but for them, we asked RKG and they said
They-
they could have it done, but it would be November 1st.
Oh, yes, it would be later and it'd be a lot more money, yes.
And so we'd like to ask the FinCom to do the analysis for us.
Please.
So I prepared a letter from Sarah Creighton, the chair of the planning board. Planning board authorized it last week.
Okay, we're meeting, September 4th. Finance committees.
Okay. We'll get you the letter before then.
Yeah.
So that's a significant project.
The finance committee had done a financial feasibility study on the SLB 40B project. Working off of, because they had, I think Forger had done the review and then RKG had done the peer review. Now, Forger has done the review. No, Forger hasn't, no. Forger did a review for CST, which the finance committee then responded to and did their own, but that was easier because it didn't include the schools. But we included the schools in the 40B.
So the 40B study should translate pretty directly to the LCD.
Well, I have to see what the propensity for the data points in the propensity for development will be, so we know what to accumulate, what to assemble in order to respond.
That's an interesting point because that, to me at least, that conflates two things. When I think about the economic impact, I think on the one hand, I'd like to know what is the impact at full development. And that's got nothing to do with propensity for development. I don't really have a lot of confidence in the propensity for development study. I mean, I know it's important, we want to do it, but nobody knows. But you know, what is the impact of full development? If I were as a voter, that's what I'd want to know. What's the worst?
Well, I think that the finance committee, based on that propensity for development, will do a timeline. off of that baseline for development, which we eventually get to full build out.
Or a three scenario. kind of-
You know, I just don't know how detailed it's going to
I
be.
understand. I just encourage you to go, I just
Most
encourage you to go to
likely
full.
that
build-out.
leads
Oh.
development.
But you don't want to, you want to be realistic about things.
Well, we always want to be realistic about things, but it's very hard to be realistic about things when you can't predict.
Right, but people could have done an economic feasibility study when the zoning was changed umpteen million years ago to allow 3 units by right in the general district.
Mhm.
And you probably can count them on 2 hands or 4 hands, how many units there've been versus how many there could have been. So I think you need to be realistic about it.
I don't think you know what realistic is.
Well, I think we're gonna have to do.
I don't think we know what realistic.
I mean, I think you can do a typical scenario, set of 3 scenarios
Business, you do that sort of thing all the
all
time.
time.
I think we do have to show full build.
Yes,
because
yeah.
As long as full build out, so that's all I'm saying. I agree, it's great to predict, here's our prediction, this is what it'll probably be. This is what it could be. Because the other thing you do in business all the time is you have rosy and you have grim and you have what you
In
expect.
between.
Right.
what
And you always want to know.
So we know the full build out is 345 units.
Exactly.
Right.
Okay, that's all I'm saying.
So that we can do.
Why don't you're gonna, I would think, end up with a chart basically showing if you have these number of units developed over time, what it looks like, all the way up to what the max is.
Right.
I don't think I don't think that's too difficult to formulate.
No.
I'm gonna be fascinated to read the propensity for development.
Mike,
I think I hear.
What you're gonna get is a wild ass guess.
anybody who's really good at propensity for development should be a billionaire real estate.
So but the other part of it is trying to figure out real estate taxes. Because I suppose on the one hand, it's possible that could be all studio units built with a minimum value,
Mhm.
and it could all be 3-bedroom units.
Yeah, that's interesting.
So
Mhm.
there is data available.
But real estate values are done per square footage,
That's right.
and you're assuming 1,000 per unit. 1,000 square feet per unit,
Well,
so, you know, if you've got a 2,000 square foot house on the lot and it goes to 3,000 square foot, you know, 1/3 more taxes.
well, I think that'd be reasonable because that's what the model predicts, but I think we should probably figure out whether that's reasonable.
Leave it up to the FinCom to do it.
Mm.
And you'll be having to talk to the tax assessor.
Yeah, I talked to the tax assessor regarding the CST.
Mm.
Yeah. We just have to figure out what information we need.
Yeah.
And we have to do it before the study is done, because by the time the study's done, we're not gonna have enough time.
Yeah, you have to do it.
So
per
this,
unit, so,
this is pretty important input to voters at the time.
Oh, my God.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And frankly, I
And
It's
think
got
that,
to be realistic.
And probably pretty important some weeks in advance of town meeting,
sure, absolutely.
To the extent.
which is an interesting point in terms of the timeline.
Well, that's why we need a commitment on when the propensity for development is gonna be completed.
Well, yes, I get it back to my original question, which is I can see why you want that in your final analysis, but it really doesn't, to me, have much to do with the basic computations, because you're gonna have, you know, X units, Y units, and Z units, and the propensity for development, what's it gonna tell you?
The timeline,
Okay, but that's,
and the
Well,
timeline's
well-
very important.
It may also address the viability of the various sites,
Right.
which, you know, candidly is, I think,
Committed.
to our, is the selling point that we've created.
Right.
yeah, which would work, yes, right, because
It
we.
would cut down on the total number,
Mhm.
ultimate number.
Certainly could. Okay.
All right, we done with this topic? Okay, let's move on to the discussion of contingency plans. And so it seems to me the state should come back with 2 kinds of objections to our proposal. The first is they might argue that some of our dimensional requirements are unrealistic or some of our design guidelines are too strict or something like that. And the other is that they might find objection to some of our districts for whatever reason. So, and I think the district one is harder for us to deal with than the standard below. I think if they said 6,000 square feet is too small or too large a minimum lot size, that might score for a model, I don't know.
But we put the information into the model and it complies. I find it hard to believe that they are going to question anything.
Yeah, that's not gonna be an issue. The issue that we kind of trying to cover here is, because we keep hearing it, is that Newport Park is
Can be included.
deed restricted, and it somehow might get kicked out
But
as that 3 acres being eligible.
I think we're spending a lot of time on something that is unlikely to happen because the state has their computer system locked and loaded. They're not going to be going around to 177 towns and second guessing what they have built into their computer system as to what's excluded and what's not.
I sure hope you're right.
I mean,
I hope, if you're not right, I'd like to have an answer.
yeah, I mean, I just think that the whole way this scheme is developed is you conform with that model.
Well, Sarah, I mean, Mark and I worked on it, and I think there are some, I don't think it's too complicated. And I think that we can comfort ourselves with knowing that there are some very simple, straightforward changes we could make. And so we don't have to go any further or get any more complicated with them. It's not a big problem.
Okay.
It would be better to have Newport, but it's not the end of it.
So basically what we did is, if you have to remove those 3 acres, we did a couple things. We made a few adjustments to some of the other areas. And
What do you mean by a few adjustments to some of the other adding properties?
No, so we did 2 things. We added, because we lose 3 acres.
Yep.
We have to add something like 1.5 acres in order to keep the district size
Right.
to meet that requirement. Not within the radius, but just that size of that big district we have. So Richard, we came up with 2 ways of doing it. One is adding a few properties at this end
What end?
of Pine Street, going up Bennett Street, just adjacent to the garage. And then we did the other end of Pine Street, just going up a little bit further, and I think that's the one we're
So
gonna
you
recommend.
Yeah.
included some,
And
That's the
but
most.
because,
you included antiques on Bennett Street?
yes, well, that's why we're recommending the other way, but we wanted to show that you could do it this way or this way, give a couple alternatives. So, and then we made some adjustments to some of the other numbers, and we found one mistake and one adjustment that we still may want to make for the Summer Street, the Allen to, Richard doesn't agree, but I think there's one adjustment we still might want to make for that Allen to Lincoln Street section.
In what way?
By reducing, so we have a minimum lot size for the first unit of 2,500 and then 2,000 for each. So you have to have 6,500. If we make it 2,000 for the first unit and 2,000 for each, you only need 6,000, and we end up picking up
Couple of properties.
3 properties which can't be developed.
Yep.
So that's 9 units, and then there's 3 of the properties which I believe can get an extra unit.
That makes
along
sense, yeah.
that stretch, so you're adding 12 units in total by making that one little change, which, if nothing else happens, allows you to drop Beaver Dam by 10 more units, or 12 units theoretically. so that you go from 100 to 90. And remember, those are
But now, wait,
100% new units.
why would you do that if Newport Park is out? Because Newport Park
I'm
represents.
saying if Newport Park is still in,
Ah,
you may wanna consider doing.
So I understand.
So if we're gonna do it, we do
Wait.
it now, we don't sit and dawdle about it.
I argue against it on this basis. We have already selected the two gateway areas into
Yeah.
town on Pine and Lincoln. Adding 12 more units on the Allen to Lincoln stretch, which is what this does, versus adding 10 units in the LCD, really seems like a trade-off that goes against, to me, goes against the
to take the pressure off downtown.
the guidelines that we set for ourselves when we started. I think we've gone very far in terms of zoning our inner town as it is. So
I have.
I don't like Bennett, I don't like taking Bennett, and I don't like taking additional 10 units, although it would work. To Mark's point, it does.
I have a concern of if Newport Park is still in,
Mhm.
juggling anything with some.
Yeah.
Oh, I don't want to do any juggling if
I
Newport.
don't
Park
want to
is-
change anything.
So,
I mean, I thought what was under consideration was we were preparing a backup plan in
Yes.
case the state said Newport
but,
Park
but
is
in
excluded.
putting together the backup plan, I came across this little adjustment. So in order, because Newport Park is 73 units, I think it is.
Total. Yes.
Total, right, so we have to, so by taking that out, we have to come up with 73 units. So by adding the end of Pine Street, we add 15 or we add like 20 plus units. And then we discovered one small mistake for the beach to,
I don't think it was a mistake.
yeah, it was.
Well, it wasn't, models I prepared originally had that number in it, so
And
from my point of view, it wasn't.
so,
I don't want to be jury rigging stuff at this point.
Anyway, can we limit this discussion to the original point, which is the Newport contingency? Because
Yes.
that's really the
It's
issue
a
here.
Newport contingent.
There's 1,000 ways to make up for Newport, obviously. We could start from all over again. There's 1,000 ways to do it. We just came up with 2. And whichever one you favor, they're just there as sort of examples of what we could fall back on if we had to. One of them goes up a little further up Pine, cuts down the additional unit sizes to 2,000 in Summer Allen and on the Allen to Lincoln, as you just saw, picks up additional units there. For anybody that's interested, I have a table that shows exactly what the difference in units, the exact addresses and parcels that changed in unit size. And then a fairly large number of units, from Mark's suggestion, came out of the Powder House District, where we also made some unit size changes, and that picked up a number of additional units.
So you-
Together, that all comes down to meeting the requirements.
Okay, I'd like to be sure I could understand. So in the Newport contingency plans, those 73 units that would disappear with Newport, would you feel, both of you feel comfortable there's a way to make them up without
yes,
sending things haywire?
yes.
You don't have to actually make up 73
Right.
units. You're
Right, it would be
reducing
less.
the total size of the,
And we
the
were
district.
high. Yeah.
Right, we had a little.
we
room,
come out to
a couple-
15.1.
Yeah, okay. Precise. And I assume you keep the properties that aren't Newport Park in the loop.
Yes,
Yes, okay.
Yeah, it goes up. That side of Pine looks exactly like it did before, except that Newport is withdrawn. And the other side of Pine goes a little further in one model, or you take Bennett Street.
Yeah,
How much of it are you taking?
4 parcels. First 4 parcels.
It would be my house.
yes,
And the first one is undersized, so that wouldn't have anything.
correct.
It's 3,900 square feet, yeah.
So it's your neighbors on either side.
What would be the big house next to you?
No, I don't think. we're
I
taking-
think Bennett Street is one of the beautiful antique
The problem is you've got the house from 1730, which is the second one.
No,
in.
Mark's point is they're all gonna get torn down anyway.
Well,
Which
White
is
Bend is
really,
being torn down
which is really,
because it
One
was,
of, one of our goals from the beginning has been not to change the character of the town. And I
Yeah.
think Bennett Street has a lot more to do with the character of the town than Upper Pine Street.
I agree. I agree.
So I suggest we just take the Bennett Street
you've got the
potential.
biggest house in town on
Yeah,
Bennett.
we both agreed, we just wanted to
See what happens.
discuss it with you and make sure because it is a natural extension at the other end of the district.
Except that we've carefully avoided historic houses.
Right,
Oh, we wanted to bring you another
unfortunately-
option. You can,
those aren't protected.
Is there can we get an opinion from DHCD or whatever the hell they're called on the issue?
We don't want it.
No, we don't
We
want to
don't
ask.
want to push the issue.
We wanted to coast by.
You
We
don't want
want,
to push the
oh,
issue. but-
We don't want to raise the issue with them. I mean, it's in their system saying it's not excluded.
Okay.
What would cause them to make it
Okay, as
excluded?
long as it's in the system.
Yeah, I agree with you, Sarah. It's in the computer. It shows as being allowable. We followed the rules. We
Yep.
used it.
Well,
Even though there is language which in the.
It's ambiguous because that's current use and we're talking about,
Yeah, we're not.
Zoned use, we're
requiring
not-
anything.
Okay,
In fact, we might even,
Fine.
we might introduce
I
some
think-
non-elderly housing. into
let sleeping dogs lie.
Yeah,
okay.
that's my feeling is,
I mean, we're spending a lot of time on the what ifs.
right.
yes.
Whereas if we had some clarity, make life a little
I
simpler.
don't think we need to spend any more time on the what if. I think the conclusion is that we'll be okay.
You've got something.
We
in
can put
your
it
back
aside
pocket.
and not worry about it again
All right.
until we have to.
Yeah.
exactly.
Okay.
All right,
Going back to the problems, is there any chance some of the things in the site plan review have, particularly for the properties that are in the water resource protection zone, would normally be special permit? And we've kind of slid them into site plan review with the idea that you wouldn't get through site plan review if you didn't meet the requirements that are in the underlying zoning. And is that one going to bite us?
no, I don't think so. What we're saying is that all of the requirements of the water protection resource district still apply to these properties. We're just not requiring a separate special permit.
And the law says that pretty specifically, does it not, or the guidelines do?
Yes, yeah. So if they don't meet the requirements, I guess the only thing that gets taken away is the discretionary part. But
Right.
That's what it's. Don't want it to be a discretionary permit.
And there aren't that many properties that accept the, I guess, the LCD. The LCD,
LCD and then a portion. of
Powder
the,
house.
No, a portion of Allen to.
Wetlands.
The garage at the corner of Lincoln
which
and
is a
Summer.
good thing to not.
Yeah.
I don't know why everybody dislikes a garage so much. I mean, it's a working facility in the middle of our town that people use.
No, it's the gasoline leaking out of the tanks into the water. Into the
Oh.
water aquifer.
You're not talking about Stanley's, you're talking
No,
about the
I'm talking
gas
about-
station at Lincoln.
It's leaking.
No, it isn't.
Could leak.
Well,
It's in the Water Resource District.
both
will
of
have
them are used for storing cars. And there's a risk if you're storing cars outdoors.
Well. I don't have the same attitude about a working garage. I think it's good to have working garages in town.
All right. Should we move on?
Yeah,
So unfortunately, Sue Philbrick is not here, so I'll have to try to tell you what's happening with the, but Sandy's here.
We've just been communicating like crazy. That's the simple net. There's a, you know, being present at Music in the Park, Festival by the Sea. There are a bunch of public forums planned for the fall. I think Tiffany sent out this document, which has a long list of specific events. And the next one on the list is September, a public forum on September 21st. Yeah. Anyway, so we're basically trying to give as many possible informal opportunities for people to interact with the members of the task force and specifically the communications committee about, you know, to answer questions.
Are they still asking, are you still
Yes.
getting a lot of people?
Oh, my gosh. I wish Sue were here because she took some fairly
Yeah.
detailed notes. I was unfortunately still with COVID, so I wasn't there, but many people came.
Good.
And there was a fair amount of information that was incorrect that people had, but they were trying to figure out what was going on. And the maps, I think in terms of the consciousness of the town, if there is such a thing, that people have been generally aware about there is this process, there will be a change in zoning, but what exactly it means. Things have popped up like, oh, Rantoul Street, but that's gone away, I think, for the most part. But now there are the districts, so what are these districts
Right.
about? And what Sue, Chris, and you were there too, Denny, right? Yeah, at the fair. So were the maps of the districts, and those are very helpful. You know, people are pretty interested.
So we have a website, which I've gone to and looked at a lot. You have to really be ready to do a little digging on the website.
On the
To
website,
get to the information.
yes.
It's not an open book that guides you through. I mean,
Your comments would be welcome, because Tiffany is wanting to look at and organize it better. Because what happened, it started out as a few things,
Right.
and now it's.
yeah, it's like, when I look at it right now, it looks to me like a whole lot of stuff that should be in the appendix. And
Mhm.
what I'm curious about is whether or not we could come up with something, think of it this way, whether it's electronic or not. It's like a 5-page brochure that shows you the layouts that are crystal clear, and we can layer that with additional information, perhaps showing color-coded densities and so forth. But what I worry about is that we've got events which attract a certain portion of the population. Lots of other people, I don't know how we reach. And if we had something
Well, like,
really transparent and simple.
like the zoning overlay districts proposed,
Yeah.
that's really
Chris-
good.
Yeah, Chris sent out
It
something.
has all of the information. It has the districts.
Okay, yes,
Well, and it has the answers to the question that I think is most
Why
frequently.
pick various things, yeah.
where do I, as a citizen interested now, get that?
That, well, I
On
think
the
we
web.
need to,
And what's the next thing we need to look at? We need
Okay,
to put this on the website. But I
But-
also need to make sure that the information, the charges.
Yes.
can we make sure that somehow it is highlighted in such a way that what I'm trying to get at is there's a lot of noise on that site.
maybe you say district, zoning overlay district summary as of X date. And have an August date on it.
There's a way,
Maybe
there's a way
what
that,
we can do is we can add a. Because we have different sections with long lists on that website.
It can get
stuff
organ-
we've
it
been
can get
working on
structured
and Trying to
differently.
figure out, so maybe we can put the latest information is here, and then you have the summary, and then you have the district maps, and then you have the bylaw, and that's it.
Yeah,
And then you have something that says like resources, and if you want to leave all that stuff in, which we probably do.
but I mean, now we have stuff up there that we're no longer looking at.
Right. and-
But there-
It's a confusing.
there
for
are
people.
archives there that are very confusing, that are kind of the same weight
You have over the years.
in terms of
this
what you
stuff.
look at as things that are newer.
Yeah, okay, so maybe that's a very good approach.
So there's another thing we're trying too, which is some videos. And Sandy and I tried one, where we tried to explain the sea to, the beach to sea district.
District, right,
And kind of walk around and show videos of the buildings.
and talk about it. We tried to do for the, what we're trying to do for the districts is what we did for the idea of density, which is to take people around and show them things, because I think there's some concepts that are just really hard for people to understand. I mean, the whole idea of capacity, the whole idea of what limits, what are the constraints on the size of anything you can build? I mean, it's all a little tough. I mean,
Yeah.
so
Okay.
we thought that we tried to help.
And Sue's
So the-
gonna do the Allen to Lincoln one.
Yeah, Gar's gonna do-
Gar's gonna do the LCD, but we need some people to do the Pine Street Newport thing. So I don't know who, if
I think you got volunteered, Debbie.
Well, okay, my enthusiasm is for something which I guess is close to what you did, which is a 4 to 6 page brochure
Yeah.
that hits people right between the eyes with the most important features of it.
So-
Because I'm not sure how many,
So I want to give you
Okay.
a new perspective on this from a planning board meeting that we were at 2 weeks ago. And
Oh,
it was-
boy.
It was all about the blasting thing. And there were a lot of people here from the neighborhood. And what amazed me, surprised me, I guess, was how little those people knew about PST. Why, some people say, why are they blasting, or what's wrong with blasting about? So there,
What's CST?
what is CST? Yeah, good. So you can't assume
no, I
that
know.
people know what's going on. So we have to just be at some very basic level, we have to explain it.
well, this is a vote which has pretty serious consequences if we don't get it passed. We all know that. Is there anything we can do via mail? or-
Yeah, that's what I'm wondering.
There's direct
We
mail.
need to really get at people.
If you had a chance to look at this, there's a direct mail piece.
What are you gonna send in the,
It's gonna be a big postcard saying, is with a QR code on it saying, more information about what's going on.
I would almost
There'll
send
be
this
a-
whole thing out.
We're trying.
That's my opinion,
You need to reach our,
I don't do QR codes, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
okay, there's somebody younger than me who doesn't do QR codes.
You're so relieved.
yeah, you're getting to what I am trying to say. I-
35% of the population of Manchester.
If we can, I get brochures from aluminum siding for my brick house. We can send those out. Surely we can.
I think we need to, this is kind of like a town report. We need to send it out. That's my opinion.
I
I
really.
think if you send out something, I think you're better off sending out a postcard that people will actually look at.
Yes.
And
Um,
then have tell them where it is on the website.
Well, you
Yeah.
can also pick a few bullet points. You
Yeah.
can- You can do.
I
a
don't know
few
what you can do on a
highlights.
postcard.
Huh?
I
Sure.
don't understand it. This is a zoning thing. I mean, I don't understand how anybody can have any opinion about this at all without looking at maps. I mean, I just
Okay.
don't know what it would possibly.
So one side of the postcard is the maps. And the other side has bullet points on the possible density in the areas.
And we're gonna have to send some magnifying glasses.
I don't know. This is a big postcard. You know, but
But actually, that's right. We're thinking about a pretty big postcard.
I mean, I
But
don't
still,
think,
I mean.
I don't think that people care anything about this acreage per unit or anything like
No,
that.
I don't think
With
they
the
do either.
setbacks or anything like that.
No, they don't.
Um,
They don't. They care about the maps. They care about the maps.
They care about the maps and how big a structure could be on a lot.
I think the
Yes.
idea about getting a map to them is that if that map upsets them. First of all, if the map doesn't upset them, then we're home
We're
free.
fine,
If
right?
the
And
map
if it
does
does,
upset them, you can hope that they will go for.
use
more
the
information.
QR code.
But that seems like something that's gonna trigger people when they look at it and they realize, yeah, this really is my neighbor or.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think it's the maps and I also think it's this chart.
I don't
It
think
shows the
it's,
units, potential units. of the-
Oh, potential units, yeah,
Yep,
capacity versus
Yeah,
potential units, yeah.
those
I
two,
agree.
those two
Yeah.
things are the maps and that,
Because
and
it's
that's it.
some-
This stuff, this other stuff, I mean, it just gives people a headache. You know, all the dimensional standards. Most
Oh, yeah.
people don't think about that unless they're in the midst of a project or.
Even then they
anticipating.
don't.
Oh, well, there,
Mhm.
there you go.
So, what I would hope that we do, or that you guys who are doing all this work that I'm not doing. What I would hope to see is that we concentrate, it's great to have all these events. But what worries me about all these events is that we're reaching a lot of the same people.
Well, I think
And-
I worry about
And we've
them.
got a lot of people to reach.
I feel that way about the forums. Because I think people come who are kind of more aware and, you know, who generally want to know more, but I think having the table at the festival and at the, you know, Manchester by the Sea thing, you get a lot of people just streaming by, and we've had little bits of things for people to munch on and things like that.
But that's
So
still,
that's-
low. I mean, if
it's
you
still a
don't feel the feeling,
small-
you're not reaching people.
So we're also going to see the Manchester Club and the Council on Aging lunch and the Women's Club and.
Yes.
It's all good.
Yeah.
I agree, it's all great. But I don't know how, I mean, there's an awful lot of people that are not gonna,
Well, why don't I check with Tiffany tomorrow and see where she is with her postcard and, maybe we could get something sent around.
Yeah.
how big do you think that postcard
We
should
were-
be?
Poster size. We were talking actually about 2 postcards, but we need, to
Okay.
see if we have the budget for 2 postcards.
Yeah,
One earlier and one close to the event.
My experience done with doing big rezoning where you do shop it around and go to the senior center and go to the clubs and do a couple public events. You're reaching a lot of the people who generally go to town meetings.
Yes.
They're involved in those places and in those community
Yeah.
forums,
Okay.
and they'll show up. So you are reaching a lot of those people and they talk to their friends and so on and so forth. So,
Just
I don't
as an
go to any
FYI,
of those things and I go to town meeting.
yeah.
just as an FYI,
During the-
Alan is planning on having twice as many people at this town meeting as we normally have,
So twice as many would be how many? Ann?
600.
somewhere between 600 and 800.
Okay.
I think,
So there will be people who don't regularly go to town meeting.
And don't have a clue what MBTA zoning is.
you know, another way of thinking about this is that there should be no question but that everybody who lives anywhere close to any of these districts should be getting contact.
So that's a little problematic, actually, because everyone in the town is gonna be.
Cares about it.
Yes, I know, but the people that live with it, I understand, I'm not suggesting we don't try to reach everybody. But I'm just saying that if you want to see the people that are most likely, I would think, to get really worked up about this, they're gonna be the people that live within, you know, a reasonable distance of this. Wouldn't you think?
Not necessarily.
Mm, that's not the noise that we're hearing.
What?
Okay.
What'd you say, Ann?
I said, it's not the noise that we're hearing.
Okay.
I think
Yeah, and
sending
there's
out a postcard with the district shown on it is gonna.
Yeah, I'm all for that. I'm all for that. I really think we should be doing something.
Well,
to-
let me give you some stats. This is right, and I am unfamiliar with these except for that they're written here. But the quarterly newsletter goes to 2,500 households. There's been information
What
that,
quarterly newsletter?
the one that goes out with your tax bill.
Okay.
Assuming that you get your tax bill,
I
which
get
is
it.
not,
I'm
not
gonna-
always the case.
Well, right, the Tide has 2,000 subscribers and there's a little piece that's published every Friday and Tiffany tries to get a little piece to alert people. She's doing things with social media. What I don't know is if it is the town's Facebook page, the town's Instagram, the town's X account, but there's, 2,000 Facebook subscribers, 1,500 Instagram subscribers and 400 X subscribers. So there's an effort to touch a lot of places.
I get a map in front of people, and I haven't seen any maps.
Yeah, I mean, the thing that's in the tide, I pay no attention to that.
Nobody's put a map in
I
front of me.
scan through the tide real quickly.
Okay,
I'm not saying the effort isn't there, but it's just, I don't ever click on the thing to go look.
On the other hand, you are so involved with town that nobody could get anything by you.
That's right.
Thank you, Ann.
What would she possibly learn from the tide?
I think Tiffany has her hand up.
Oh,
Oh,
sorry.
Tiffany's here. Oh,
Tiffany.
Tiffany.
That's okay. Hi, everybody. Good evening. So I just wanted to comment that the communication plan for this phase does comprise of multi communication mediums in order to reach different groups of people. So, and we do have a direct mail piece on there, and the exact size hasn't been determined yet, but it'll have more than just a QR code. It will have also, the website link, the direct link to the page where they can get more information. We can talk about the content. It's really important that the dates are on that postcard as well, because we want to provide people with opportunities for public hearings and public forums in order to be heard and to learn more and to ask questions in person. We've been finding that I hear all of you, and I think that all of the ideas are great. And I just think we need to use all the tools in our toolbox to get the word out. And I do think that the grassroots, smaller conversations and events that we're doing have been really effective, because this can be a little bit emotional for people, and having that opportunity to have that one-on-one conversation has been really effective. We've found in the communications group, people have a chance without being in a large crowd, sharing their concerns, and usually it ends, these conversations end really positively, where the resident walks away understanding more, and the hope is that they're going to go share that with somebody else. And the word will spread that way too. We're a small town, and people talk to each other, neighbors talk to each other. So I think that, and that's part of going to these groups like the Council on Aging. It's part of being at the festivals and just having an informal table. But also certainly the direct mail will be really important. The newsletter is just another tool that we have. And I mean, I've had plenty of people tell me that they love that they read their newsletter and the Tide every week. And mostly it's people that really aren't in tune with Town Hall. And they commented to me that, it's a great way that they can keep up. It's a snapshot of what's going on. They can have a one-stop shop of like, what do I need to know? So I don't have to dig too deep, of what's going on in Town Hall for the week. So it's just another way to reach people. And the newsletter gets shared online. It gets posted to the website, and it gets shared on social media each quarter. So it's not just the people that open their mail. It'll be should be more than that, hopefully, but it won't be our only tool that we use. So
Tiffany, would it be possible to think about sending something out direct mail that, as I said, is kind of a trigger that precedes a forum event, so we can try and, shake the tree and then give people an opportunity to come to a larger forum if they're disturbed prior to the vote?
I'm not sure what you mean as a trigger.
Well, what I'm thinking is that I'm imagining, and maybe I'm all wrong, but I'm imagining there's a lot of people who just haven't heard, haven't thought about it, don't have details, and
Oh my gosh.
aren't gonna get it.
Yeah.
So if we were to send out something, I'm not suggesting that it would be provocative, but you send out a map, you send out something that really puts something very concrete in front of them. But you have enough time so that they can come to a forum
Oh, yeah,
after that, so that it's not so close to the town meeting that we,
that's an
Yeah.
argument for 2 postcards.
well, whatever.
Yeah.
But that's why I say shake the tree, see if we can find the people that are upset by might be upset by what's coming and offer an opportunity to do the good work that you folks have been doing in talking individually at forums and so forth.
Well, there is a forum planned for the 21st, which would mean
Mhm.
you'd have to get a postcard out pretty quickly after Labor Day. But you could do it. I mean, Ann's comment about one side's a map, the other is a couple bullet points about the whole process. Come to the.
Right. And we have 2 forums planned. So the 21st is, we're trying to also capture different times of day that might work for different, either age groups or demographics of people. So the Saturday, the 21st will be an in-person event on Town Common. We held an event like this a year ago and it was pretty successful. And then we're going to follow that up the next week on October 2nd with a similar format, but just virtual. So at 7 o'clock at night. So we're trying to also provide opportunities for people because we do feel like the conversations are so helpful. Like you can give people the information, but being able to talk it out with somebody seems to resonate really well. And because it is a complex topic. So
Tiffany, with that, virtual forum,
yes,
are you gonna put that up on YouTube? I've been surprised with the, from the 40B, public hearings, how many people watch the hearings separately on YouTube after the fact.
Interesting, yeah.
absolutely.
And I mean, I've just, some 20-something-year-old with a 5-week-old baby stopped me on the street. He says, "Are you the person from?" He says, "I watch it on YouTube." I said, "Ooh."
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a whole different.
Yeah, so, and
Yeah.
I'm, that just kind of surprised me.
Yeah, I think people do watch and they can watch it after the fact. They don't have to tune in live. That's a benefit of recording these meetings. So we will share that I do post every task force MBTA zoning themed meeting gets posted. So we'll be sharing those. And that's why want to produce a little, it's not like, Hollywood rated, but short videos. We're getting better though.
You are so diplomatic, Tiffany.
But close. We have very good talent. So we are working on short videos of each district and, just another way because sometimes somebody can be making dinner or folding laundry and they can watch a 5-10 minute video and maybe that that visual is, resonates more than having to read through a 6-page document. So
Right.
we're just trying different ways. And
I mean,
we know it's going to be busy this fall.
It is. Do enough people, I'm asking really Sarah and Anna especially, well, and Mark also, do enough people come to town hall? So putting the maps up someplace on the first floor would make sense to do.
Well, I would think it would make sense.
Yeah, lots of people.
Lots of people come to town hall for all kinds of things.
Well, there's-
Right.
What did, Greg said once that we were talking about real estate bills.
Hmm.
And he said, I happen to pay mine in person, and he said 50% of the people do.
Really?
Wow.
Now, it's not 50% because a lot of people have their tax bill paid by the bank. But
Oh,
of the people who receive physical tax bills, he said 50% pay in person.
No kidding, because they don't trust the internet.
Well, you have to pay an extra 40 cents to do it online.
Oh, it's more than that. There's a percentage.
Yankees. Yeah.
Yeah.
My excuse is I get the walk-in.
Gives you a walk for the day, right?
But
Yeah.
so, yeah, I think
So
having something
maybe-
in town hall would be.
So I want to go back to this video because we still need people to do the Pine Street one. And what we discovered doing the Beach Street one was, it was really important to have a storyboard, so we have sort of scenes set up with what to say and what's gonna be shown on the video altogether. So I've actually done it for Pine Street. We have sort of a rudimentary storyboard sequence. We just need somebody to narrate it, essentially. And it can be one person, it can be two people. Maybe somebody does Newport and somebody else does the rest of it. I don't know. It's,
Oh, we hear lots of volunteers here. I said I would help. I'll be part of a duo here.
Look at me.
Oh,
Look at me.
It's an easy audition.
yeah, keep me in mind. I'd be more than willing to help, but at the moment, I can't really tell you when I'm available.
well, we're not ready for you yet.
Right.
Okay, well, we'll just let that cruise for a while. See what happens.
In need of Pine Street volunteer is the net from that agenda item. And also getting maps at town hall. Is it, Tiffany, Mark, is it complicated to put those maps that we have up there? Do you want to put up other maps? What could you do?
Tiffany, aren't there maps in the other meeting room?
Yeah, there are.
You mean the 4 maps that we've been using
Yeah.
on
Yes.
the foam board? We can, and we have easels, so I can easily put those up in the
Lobby?
entryway on easels Monday. It's just that we have some voting stuff there, so I might have to wait. Let me see where we can.
It would actually be good during voting, wouldn't it?
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I could put them upstairs where,
I
The
think they
voting.
need to be downstairs.
Yep, downstairs.
I think the
Yeah.
majority of people go to town clerk and to the treasurer.
Right,
Yes.
right.
gotta get them before they pass the,
Yeah,
I'll look Monday to see where, they won't be in what people will still be able to get around, where we can put them. We'll find a
Mhm.
spot,
yeah,
but we
Okay,
can
that
put
would-
them up and yeah, it's not
that's
a bad
a
idea.
great idea.
That would be great.
I guess the sound truck is right out.
Oh, brother.
So we can show our videos of it.
Can I go back to this? Alan Wilson's estimating 600 to 800 people.
Yeah,
What's a normal run of the mill year?
300, 400.
Yeah.
Okay, so we've already, been successful in getting, this is gonna be the issue in town meeting.
Yeah, that's why the extra people, that's why he's expecting
Yeah,
they're
so
coming.
but, at least you've got 200 or 300 people more who are energized to come. And who presumably
Some people are for it in
Are
a very
hopefully-
active way.
are somewhat knowledgeable. Some people are, not every, there's
Right.
gonna be those that have never let facts get in the way of an opinion. Um,
Oh.
But, that's a pretty good penetration rate
Mhm.
when you think about it already.
Do you want to talk about the conversation with Jeff Delaney?
Jeff Lee.
Yeah,
Sure, well, we did.
we wanted to brief him.
Brief Jeff Delaney, who was the new select board person. And we asked him what he thought we should be doing that we're not doing, essentially.
And what were the concerns he was hearing from people?
Yeah,
And he came away pretty positive from it.
yeah,
So he asked a lot of the questions and, there were all the basic things about density and high rise.
There's a lot of information about MBTA zoning that does not come from Manchester, but comes from other sources, whether it's the Boston Globe or
Oh, yeah.
other local organizations. I am not as optimistic as you are, Denny, about the additional 300 and what their level of deep knowledge on the subject would be. I hope you're right, and you may well be.
Mhm.
Well, I'm not saying there are, there's gonna be people who have no knowledge and
Mhm.
just, have heard something about the character of the town changing. There's a sign on the corner, where the convenience store is.
Mhm.
That's already,
Yeah, there was a float in the 4th of July parade.
right.
right.
And, you know, we've got people who definitely are fired up and who are not operating
Sure.
a full amount of the.
And we've got people that we're never gonna reach that are
Right.
gonna be antagonistic.
And we've got people who are informed and have networks of their own. I mean, there's a gal in town who's pretty enthusiastic about the idea and has a emailing list of 150 people. Who
But
are
there's also,
actively.
there's also a active group, not statewide, but with among the 177 communities that are
We lost.
bases. And are
Lost
well
you.
informed.
Can you
What-
say it again, and you cut out for a second?
Yeah, I cut out a lot. There is a very active group among the communities that are looking at this. And if you drive through Hamilton, there are signs saying, just say no.
Yeah,
And there are people who are going to get their information that way. The people who are opposed to this are opposed to the state taking over and coming up with a one size fits all program, and not recognizing that Manchester needs senior housing and affordable housing, and we're going about this all wrong. And those people are good at communicating. We've seen it at various town meetings with the postcards from the Manchester Matters people. And that's going to bring out people. And they are
So-
going to have information that doesn't come from us.
so Jeff Delaney made a very good point. He said, one of the things we should be saying is that although this is a state requirement, the state is leaving the zoning up to us. So this is our local way of coping with it. It's not just,
Right,
if they were, if
Okay.
they wanted, they could do like the ADUs and just say,
that's it.
that's it, you're gonna have multifamily housing, boom.
But where the districts are, how many of them, is there one, are there 7? You know, there's some outer boundary conditions that the state set. But in terms of the details of the zoning, the location, et cetera,
Right.
and how the bylaw works, it's really been up to us.
So he said we should be stressing that, which I think is a very good point.
That's what we have to address is that we have done the effort has been to put forth zoning changes that will minimize the changes to the character of the town. And that will frankly throttle the growth. There have been towns that have just said, okay, here is however many acres that's in the middle of a wooded area.
Right.
Just it's all new construction. And we need to make sure that people understand that the basic rules are one size fits all. Everybody has to have this many units within this area and some other number of units someplace else. But the way that towns do it differs a lot.
Yes.
And
Yes, I've been surprised at that actually, because I've been reading a bit about what some of the other towns are doing, and they haven't taken advantage of the areas where there already is housing that effectively counts,
Well,
you know, in the capacity.
I just think we should be a little provocative if we have to be and shake the tree a bit. Because the people we really want to reach now, guys have probably done a great job at reaching all the people that have genuine
Well,
interest in coming. We need to reach the people that,
we're talking about trying to do a banner on that fence. That says, you know, give some basic bullet point information and gives a
yeah,
go here.
okay, I think maps. I think you gotta get some out.
Oh, yeah,
Way to get a map.
the maps are it. That's how people understand what it is.
Okay, let's move on here.
Yeah.
So we got some meeting minutes to approve.
June 6th.
Gail sent them, yeah.
Yep.
They
Move to
are
approve
fine.
the meeting minutes from June 6th.
Second,
I guess Richard seconds. Any discussion? No? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Unanimous. Now I'm gonna see if there's any public comment. Is there anyone out there who would like to?
anyone there?
Raise your hand on Zoom. Sarah Pierce.
Sarah.
Hi, Sarah Paris, 9 Friend Street. Thank you for taking my comments. I just want to raise the point that I think people's concern shouldn't be looked at in a negative way. I think a lot of people have extreme valid concerns about some of the changes that are in writing and being, well, already sent off to the state, like adding 4-story buildings to Manchester, possibly a lot more traffic. I mean, there's so many things that are happening at once. It's a lot coming at residents. I grew up here in this town. I was the one that did that parade float, and I did it not to protest the MBTA, but more to highlight Manchester by the Sea as the beautiful small coastal town that it is. And I think that a lot of people are just concerned, and rightfully so. And I don't think it's the best approach to try to tell people that they're wrong or they shouldn't be concerned, because there has to be some level of concern from residents. Change brings concern, and not being transparent brings concern. So I wonder, like, when you do these visuals or these I haven't been on any of your walking tours or groups or anything like that, but I mean, are you saying to people like, well, in this area there are 4-story buildings zoned for this lot, and it's going to be, or do visuals to show that, because people would rather see what the actual outcome would be than be unpleasantly surprised and feel like the town's just giving the information that, oh, you're going to get sued if you vote no. You're going to have grants taken away if you vote no. You also have to address the fact of what is going to happen to the town if it does pass, because people are going to want to know that. And that would be my comment. I'm just a lifelong, supporter of this small coastal town, and that would be my comment and my wish, that there's transparency on both sides. So thank you very much.
Yeah,
I think you're absolutely right. We have to explain exactly what's going to happen. I think we've tried to do that as best we can. I think the kind of statement, like, for example, that 4-story buildings are coming to Manchester is technically correct, and we do say that. However, the devil's in the details. There are only a couple of places where we'll be allowing 4-story buildings, and they're not near anyone's home. They're at Newport Park up against Powderhouse Hill.
But it's still, and then you have up at the limited commercial district. And I'm just saying, it's going to change the town. It's going to generate a lot more traffic in conjunction with other large projects that are coming to town. A lot of people are aware. A lot of people, I also think there's, like a difference of opinion of what is considered misinformation or information that people want to have as their own belief. Like, what's good for the town? What's good for the town for some people might be A. What's good for the town for other people might not even be on their radar. I mean, a lot of people may like this idea and might vote yes. A lot of people don't like the idea, just for the simple fact that, yes, the state is mandating that we change a lot of our zoning because we have a commuter rail. And they're large changes, they're not small. So, and it doesn't really address affordability, and it doesn't.
No, see,
That's not true,
That's
Sarah.
not true, Sarah. This is.
Well, you can ask for it and you can require it, but I mean, there's been a lot of, I see a lot on social media about conversations, and those are people's opinions, and that, I'm not saying it's mine. I'm saying they're entitled to their opinions.
Well,
And so unless you can prove, well, we haven't
Everyone-
been able to build any affordable
It
housing.
says you're entitled to your opinion, but not to the facts.
To not your own facts. Tell me
Okay,
why,
well,
tell me, please help us understand
yeah.
why people are
Well, I
talking
think people
about.
are,
Wait,
people,
let me
Yeah,
ask you the
sorry.
question. Could you help us understand why anyone is thinking that affordability is not part of the picture for this group of people,
We're requiring 20%
right?
with 5 units or
So,
more.
so please help us understand why there would be some suggestion that affordability wasn't part of the concern of the task force and the
Oh,
town.
I definitely think it was a concern of yours, and I think you guys have done an absolutely outstanding job at the task that you have been given. I would never have thought about it, and now that I've seen how it all had to play out, kind of glad I stepped away, but I've definitely stayed involved. I think there's a believability issue in, is that going to actually happen? Because the units that have been built recently are very expensive. A lot of people are not seeing this as an affordable housing. I mean, we haven't been able to add any affordable housing to Manchester, but yet we're pursuing grants for, you know, docks in the marina, not the commercial fishing. That's a different industry. I'm just saying, like, we're not looking at issues that have existed. People are concerned about the infrastructure. Like when we were talking earlier about giving real data or having to know how many units and how much more water will we need, how much more will we need to upgrade our electrical grid, how many more cars will there be on the road, how is this going to affect commutes? People are going to be concerned about that. So that's just an honest feedback.
Of course, and this is what this fiscal impact study is supposed to do.
Right. And I know you're just trying to do what you can to follow along with something that was dropped in your lap. And I totally appreciate that. I just wish there was a way in which it could be done that both sides, with their own opinions, like maybe not wanting Manchester to change and taking on 4-story buildings or massive amounts of traffic, was acceptable too.
Well, yeah.
Well, we have to see if it's massive and we have to
I
say,
think we need to move along. We have
Yeah.
somebody else who has a
Okay.
public comment.
Okay, sorry. I
Thank
just
you.
thank you for listening to all of that. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. Anyone
Philip.
else?
Philip's iPhone.
Whoever's on Philip's iPhone.
oh, it's Donna.
Yes, hi, sorry, it's Donna. Thank you for 8 Blossom Lane. So did we get back the economic feasibility study to state that we could put 20% for affordability in the mandate? I didn't hear that earlier.
We have not gotten it back yet, no.
Okay, I know that you were requesting that. So right now, we're only at the 10%, and with the 10% affordability.
We submitted 20%.
No, I understand that, but the state has
Right.
to agree to that, and you're saying we haven't gotten that back yet, correct?
Right.
Right, so I know that you guys asked for that because that was a big deal. But my question is, it states that we would need to build 5 units at a particular space to get that 1 unit for 10%, correct?
Correct.
For
All right,
20.
so only the Pine Street Powder House area, am I correct, has the 5 units as well as what the LCD would be. So we're kind of hoping that it's a wash, right? Like if we only get 10%, we're kind of hoping that if anything is actually built, that it might just be a wash. We're not going to add more units that are going to require an affordable unit that we didn't match, roughly, correct?
So there's a trade-off, Donna. If we trying to protect the town's character by limiting the size of buildings.
Yep.
Built, then we have to give up some affordability. There's no question.
Oh, no. I completely get it. Again,
But there are lots of places where this could happen. There are more than 5 units allowed in quite a few lots throughout the town.
We don't have a cap on the number of units per lots in some of the districts.
I was just reading from the graph, from the notes, from the changes. So I just looked like, you get 100 units at the LCD, like 4 in different things. So, but my point is, if we're hoping potentially that if within affordability that we are at a wash, meaning like we're hoping that we're not going to add more units that then require our affordable number to go up. And then we also have to remember too, that it's 80% of the AMI. That's as low as that we can go. And so in this area, that's still going to be tremendously expensive, but there's nothing more that we can do about that, right? Like we can't ask for less than that, right? So
This is not a tool for providing affordable housing.
Oh, no, you know that's what I want. I'm just saying, when you're communicating to the public, you guys have really wanted to have the affordable piece, right? You need to advocate that you've been fighting for that. I'm just saying in your messaging, like this is a big thing for a lot of people, including myself, that's what I get upset about the government. Like when we know what we need in Massachusetts, and this particular 40A isn't an affordability piece, but you're doing everything in your power to get as much as you can with the most ability, even if it's 80%, so that people understand what you're trying to do. Do you understand what I'm saying? Because that's a big ask for people in the community. I'm trying to prepare you to make sure that your messaging is that, because people are going to want to hear that, because that's going to mean something to the community. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Yeah, that's all I'm saying. I know that you guys have advocated for this and fought for this, and hopefully with the 20%, that maybe we could get that up at the LCD if that's approved. And I just think, again, that would be great because it's better than nothing. It's the messaging that's going to be really important at town meeting and even before, that you are advocating for this and doing everything you can in your power, because at least it's better than nothing. And that's, you guys have done everything. I just want to make sure that you put out that messaging, because that's important.
Thank you, Don. I appreciate it.
No, you're welcome. Thank you guys very much for everything that you do.
Anyone else?
Nope. We're good. But we probably could come up with the number of lots that could build 501 units.
That'd be good.
Huh? That's a good idea.
Yeah, we could say
Come up with
something.
the number of lots that could have
We could
501
say the
units.
number of affordable units in each of those districts. I
You know, Sarah's comments about showing people what it would look like. I wish there was a way we could do it. I don't know how we could, but if you could imagine in your mind, you can imagine a graphic which would show what this town would look like if the developments that we've allowed were actually built. I'm not going anywhere with this. I'm just.
No, it
is interesting. It is an interesting thought, because there is an image in their mind. And the image in their mind is.
So,
I think
Richard, here's something.
we have to push the design standards. I think that the piece that's being lost to the public
Yeah,
is
I understand.
that the design standards are such that they're gonna keep the buildings from looking like some of those
I don't think it's
contemporary
gonna-
4 stories,
Yeah, I understand.
you know,
But
but we'd be.
it's the
just
image.
there.
People have an image.
Well, yes, everyone has their own image.
Yeah.
One of the things to keep in mind, for example, the gas station at the corner of Beach and Summit.
Yeah.
They right now, by right, could subdivide that parcel into 3
Yep.
lots and build two unit buildings.
And build hideous
Hideous,
structures.
horrible
Yeah,
things.
yeah, actually, people can build hideous structures all over
Well,
town.
they do.
And they do.
And they
We
do.
know several.
Okay,
No, we can't control that.
we're all finished with public comment.
Okay. Thanks for taking that.
Sarah has her hand up again.
Sarah,
Yeah, but we finished with the public comment.
she has her hand up. Let's see where she-
Okay, sir, if you're quick.
I think she didn't take
Maybe
it
she
down.
just-
Sarah, are you there?
She didn't take her hand down.
Okay.
I have
take a
that
motion
trouble.
to adjourn.
So
Second.
close.
Jen,
So moved.
go.
Second.
All in favor?
Third.
All right.
Aye.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Chris.
Thank you.
Thank you.